Hey, welcome to the video presentation of EDU PEP 417, and we're going to focus this video on Module 14, which is our coaching number 2, which is about purpose, your coaching purpose. So we are in Module 14, and we're going to start off basically in our page here. So click over on our modules, and we're on our methods page for the course. And in Module 14, Coaching Purpose, you'll see it's made live, as well as Module 15 is made live too with all of your culminating activities. So we'll walk through real quick the introduction part of 14. So in Module 14, our Coaching Purpose module, the purpose is to expand your knowledge and understanding of the field of athletic coaching. We're going to introduce you to the NFHS, National Federation of High School Activities Association, Code of Ethics. We'll discuss why athletics are important in a school setting. We will explain how to build team culture, and we'll talk about developing a purpose of coaching, and that will be your culminating activity for Module 14, developing your personal coaching purpose. So here's what we have. We'll have this video presentation you're watching now. You'll have your assignment, developing a purpose statement. You'll download a couple of documents to read. And then I'm going to remind you again, start working on that final assignment that's due Tuesday in Module 15. And that replaces your observation assignment. So that's specific to you, depending on how far you were along in your observation at the midterm. Here's our big ideas. You can read those. I'll go over to the big ideas and objectives here when we get into the presentation. And your reading materials, once again, watch this entire video, actively watch it, take some notes, and then download the coaching unit document links, which is on the page with this video. So there's going to be links to a couple documents and another short video, about 30 seconds, showing a sample coaching purpose. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our presentation. And this is Coaching Athletics, lecture number 2, the purpose of coaching athletics. We'll start just with a brief intro here again, and I went over this stuff. The purpose of the module is to expand your knowledge and understanding of the field of athletic coaching. We have a to-do list and our assignments. All right, and the assignments are developing a purpose statement. It'll be due Thursday, April 23rd. Your final assignment is in Module 15, and it's due Tuesday, April 28th. So get to work on those if you haven't. Remember, that's specific to you. And then look ahead at your culminating assignments because they'll come up. Module 15 will be our final module. So that wraps up our intro on our Module 14 for coaching purpose. Let's get into the content here. Here's our big ideas for this video lecture. We'll start off with the Code of Ethics. We'll discuss what it takes to be a great coach. I'll give you some information on why athletics are important in a school setting here in the United States. I'll actually give you some information from some personal research I've done on this idea. We'll discuss ways to build team culture. I'll go into 12 keys to developing a successful team. And then we'll start talking about what is your coaching purpose. Why do you coach? Why are you going to coach a certain way? How are you going to define success in your program? And then we'll go through an activity on developing your individual coaching purpose statement. If you do a good job on this, this should really prepare you for the next module, and that is developing your philosophy, which is going to expand on your coaching purpose statement. So the National Federation of State High School Associations, which is the guiding force, guiding association related to activity associations, the Missouri State High School Activities Association, known as MISHA, is a member of the National Federation of High School Associations. They have a Coach's Code of Ethics. Let me go through the Coach's Code of Ethics here. These are some things you should think of and understand to be a good coach. Most professions have a code of ethics. They're different for wellness professionals. Athletic trainers have a code of ethics. So do medical professionals. So here are the ones for coaches. Number one, do everything you can to develop character. Developing character needs to be intentional. You can't export what you don't import, so you actually have to spend some time teaching character, sportsmanship, ethics, and those things. Number two is be honorable. Always try to do the right thing. Be a professional. Be honorable. Uh, always act with integrity and have some ethics. Number three, take an active role in the prevention of substance abuse. So you should discuss with your participants performance enhancing drugs as well as recreational drugs, and take an active role in preventing that substance abuse. You should advocate for testing if you're at the college level. And then if there is drug testing, make sure you do that with some integrity. So the first part, though, is education. Education is the best way to prevent substance abuse. Next thing, as you become an adult, you're allowed to use some of these things, alcohol and tobacco, but do not use those in presence of your athlete. At the high school level, that's absolutely something that you could possibly lose your job over. So don't if you're a baseball, softball, outdoor type coach, a lot of people will use chewing tobacco. Stay away from that, and don't drink athletic or alcoholic beverages in front of your athletes. Next thing, a lot of us forget this because we get focused on our sport, and you'll see a lot of coaches that do ignore this part of the code of ethics, but promote the entire interscholastic program. If you're the volleyball coach, it's important to try to go to other games, the softball games, the basketball games, the wrestling matches, tennis. So promote the entire interscholastic program. Try to think globally, be cooperative, and work together, because the interscholastic extracurricular program is one program, and it takes some cooperation and coordination to work together. That means try not to tell your athletes not to play something in a different season. Try to promote cross-training. Next, be knowledgeable of the rules. In the last lecture, I advocated for you to become a certified official for your sport. So one thing you can do is you'll start arguing rules with officials, which we really don't want to do, but that happens. Make sure you know the rules. Number one, you have to know the rules to be able to teach them to your participants and to be able to effectively plan for a game. Next, do everything you can to enhance sportsmanship. All right, it's another thing like character. You have to be intentional about teaching it, provide activities, do some role plays, do everything you can to develop sportsmanship. Have it as a ideal, a pillar of your program. By having it as a pillar of the program, you teach it, you model it, you put a spotlight on it when it has good sportsmanship. All right, and then you immediately have some remediation, reflection, and consequences for poor sportsmanship within your program. Another thing is we all need to probably do a better job of is respect the officials. The officials are there so the game can go on and to try to put the rules into play and create a fair environment. Everybody thinks officials do not give their team a fair shake, usually even teams that win the game. But I don't know any officials that aren't out there to try to, they played the game in the past, or they're trying to advance the game and provide the kids an environment. So make sure you respect the officials. If you do, you're modeling it for your team, so your team would then respect the officials. If you have bad sideline behavior, so will your team. Realize, too, there's an official shortage out there right now. So if this continues to be the trend that people disrespect officials, we're not going to have enough officials to even have games. That's another way. If you decide you don't want to coach, you might be able to stay involved in your sport by becoming an official. You can right now, as a college student, get certified and start officiating games for a variety of sports and make a little bit of money. You don't get paid great, but you make a few bucks. It's better than you would make working in the entry-level service industry. Another thing, be cordial and professional. Always try to have professional communication. Uh, Try to, as a coach, when the other team shows up, invite them into the facility, show them where their bathroom and locker room is, welcome them, you know, try to be cordial and then be professional. The other thing is with officials, with parents, with everybody involved, try to be professional, cordial, and you're the one that sets the tone as the head coach for the program. Do not exert pressure on faculty. Don't go to a faculty member trying to put pressure on them to get them to change a grade so somebody can be eligible, or to give a student athlete any extra privileges. You might want to meet with a faculty member and be proactive in planning for students' academics, or discuss different things that you could make the athlete successful. But this is where you don't want to, when you remember those irate parents that come in and talk to you, don't take that role of the irate parent going and talking to the teacher. The teacher's now in the coach's role in that conversation. So don't put any pressure on faculty to change any students' academic progress. And next, focus on the development of the whole person. Although we are teaching specific sports skills and training for athletic competition, try to develop character. So remember, we always looked at the cognitive phase. Try to help the person develop cognitively, mentally, have a deeper level of understanding, be able to critically think. The other part is affective. We want the person to enjoy what they're doing, teach them how to set goals, how to persevere through trials and tribulations of some failures, and then how to celebrate their successes so they can enjoy their activity as they're participating. Moving along, here's some things we're going to talk about, what it takes to be a great coach. I have a lot of different things here, but I'll give some examples as we go. First of all, try to motivate your athletes to believe in themselves. There's no use for any psychological abuse or humiliation or making fun of your participants. That might have happened along the way and you might have seen it. But really take on that role of a motivator. That might require you to teach people how to self-motivate and to set some goals, but try to motivate your athletes to believe in themselves. Instead of giving the idea of, hey, I really have to have you do this or you're going to let us down, tell them in the other aspect, hey, I know you're going to make this shot. We believe in you. That's why you're the person taking the shot. Next, be a great life skills teacher. Don't just always focus on the game or the skill. Focus on teaching people to be better individuals. If people are better individuals, they're going to be better participants and performers. We want to teach them how to set some goals, how to take responsibility for their own actions, how to be a proactive planner, to make sure that they have thought of different things, to make sure that they remember to bring their own uniform to the game. I've also, as a college coach, had a life skills development program where we taught study skills one week. The next week we taught about opening a checking account and what the balance and interest compounding on a credit card would be. The next lesson we talked about avoiding abuse of performance enhancing and recreational drugs. We went on and we had a 16-week program at the beginning of our season and our preseason that we went on to teach life skills. And that might even be how to tie a tie, how to eat a proper dinner, how to go through an interview, whether it's a post-game interview or a job skills interview. I've seen coaches that have done things like how to change a tire as an activity. So anytime that there's a day where you can't get to your facility, have some kind of life skills plan in your backpack and pull that out on a day where things aren't working the way you want it to, where you lose your facility or you're missing some students due to them going on a seminar out of town. Another thing you want to do, remember you're the model. All the eyes are on you. Walk the talk. If you expect your players to be paying attention and not being on their phone and being on time, then you need to be on time and leave your phone in the locker room and not hold on a drill and be texting at home to see what's going on. So make sure if you're going to do something, you model it. If you expect good sportsmanship and sideline behavior and bench behavior on your team, you need to have that so you can model it. Number 4 here, remember to try to coach the person, not just the player. Realize every individual is different. They all get motivated different. They have different personalities. They communicate different. So remember, you're talking to the person, right? Look at improvement. Look at long-term characteristics. Don't just look at the actions that that player made. Next here in red, we have learning to keep the game in perspective. And too many of us don't. In the grand scheme of things, your game doesn't mean anything to how the world works. So keep that game in perspective. It's an athletic contest where there's winners and losers, but a week from now, nobody's going to remember who won and lost. A few people might, but that's not going to be a major part of the grand scheme of everybody's life that's involved. So try to keep the game in perspective. Yes, we all want to be successful and we want to be in the moment, but keep it in perspective. It's not life and death. Next, understand the individual differences and put performers in situations to succeed. All right? This means if somebody's not going to be successful, they're not ready, you're not adequately matching them to the situation due to their skills or maybe even their physical characteristics, try not to put them in that situation. You want people to have some success. Put them in a situation where you think they can be successful, let them build, and then give them tougher situations. Another thing too is, remember there are situations that you can allow people to have an opportunity. If you're a football coach and you know you're on the 1-yard line and you're going to hand the ball off to your stud running back, all right, the wide receiver is probably not going to have a whole lot to do with it. That might be a time to get a sub in and let one of your receivers that doesn't play get on the field that isn't really going to have an outcome in the situation anyway. They will feel good because they were on the field when a touchdown got scored, and it'll help them motivate. So understand situations. Another thing we need to do is learn to be flexible. This is important for all aspects of our life. Things happen, just like this class all of a sudden is online. We have to learn to be flexible, be creative, think outside the box. If you do that, you're going to be a better coach, because if you're flexible, you're going to probably be a better long-term decision maker and creative thinker when you're game planning and in-game coaching. This is real important in the coaching profession. Learn to be a great communicator. You not only have to learn your task and how to be able to talk it and how to be able to give details, but you have to learn to effectively communicate that, what we call pedagogy. You have to be able to give out that material so people understand it. You have to then be flexible so you make sure everybody in your audience is understanding it, and you need to tailor your communication to your audience. You may say things differently to your supervisor than you would with your colleagues, than you would with your participants at high school, than you would when you're coaching your own son or daughter's youth league team. You have to remember, tailor your communication to your audience and be enthusiastic and passionate about it, because enthusiasm and passion, it kind of transcends all of your crowds. Another thing sometimes we forget to do in communication is we need to take time to listen. All right, I got to the point in the season where at the beginning I was giving the information and teaching different things, but by the time we got to gameplay in mid-season, I was asking my players, hey, is this working? What would you do different? They got to give some input, so then they even had a little more buy-in, as well as a lot of eyes and a lot of brain power is better than just one. So take time to listen to your assistant coaches, your participants, your parents, your supervisors. Half of communication is listening. Next, embrace and educate the parents. Too many coaches immediately get on defensive when they talk about parents. If you bring your parents in and have a preseason meeting and educate them on your program philosophy, your ideals, your rules, possibly even the rules of the game, or sometime your strategy, maybe your offensive and defensive philosophy, walk them through a play, explain to them what you're looking for. That's a great way to start it off on the right foot, that you're all in a partnership, because we really are. Parents give some control of their children to you while they participate in athletics. And we're all in this boat to help individuals improve over time and be the best they can be. Next thing down, don't let your ego or self-worth really get tied up in the outcome of the game. Just because as a coach your team didn't win a game or had a bad season, that doesn't mean that you're a failure. That means that program at that specific time frame maybe wasn't successful. But don't let your ego or self-worth, don't feel down. Yes, there's going to be a time where you're disappointed, but let that disappointment wash off in the shower. Get up the next day, start a new day, and really try to make that next day the best you can. So don't just get disappointed in a poor outcome. Be disappointed briefly, but reflect on it, learn from it, and move on. Really, that's what failures in life are all about. The last one on this slide, eliminate psychological abuses. Don't humiliate a player. Don't pick on a player, make fun of them. It is a team. You get to joking around, and I know there's a lot of the dissing type activities. And yes, you might do that in your peer group, but as a coach, don't do that with your team, and don't allow that in your presence in the team. Try to model it. No, don't put anybody down. Don't blame somebody for a loss. You might discuss the ways that we could be more successful in the future. We'll move on to the next slide, some other ideas of how to be a great coach. All right, let me adjust this a little bit. All right, first of all, first point here, keep the learning environment safe. That's physically and emotionally. Make sure the equipment's safe, the facility's safe, the field if you're outdoors safe. Make sure people are participating safely. You control how people participate, how much physicality is in the game, how much people are paying attention, how much horsing around is going on. And then also have an emotionally safe environment where people feel safe, cared for, and you have a good positive climate. Next, continually challenge performers to improve. It's not just about what you've done in the past. It's not about what you're doing today. It's let them set some goals and challenge them to reach their goals and really exceed their personal expectations. People can always do a little more than they thought they could. All right, so the idea is to do that and move on. All right, so every day, if you get a little bit better every day, you're going to compound things. The next one under that is continually challenge yourself to improve as a coach. You should learn new tactics, new strategies, learn from mistakes. So you're basically doing the same thing you were doing with your performers. But challenge yourself to improve and be better. A lot of this is being a reflective thinker. Whenever you think, at the end of the day, you should always reflect on the day, reflect on the practice, reflect on the game decisions, and then think what you would do next, and then learn from that. You might have to go out and do some learning. Next, be very passionate about what you do. You know, if you're a coach, you need to be passionate about your activity. You need to be a part of the state coaching association. You should go to the state championships. You should watch college and professional games in your activity. You should really be a part of the National Coaches Association and advocate for your sport. But be very passionate. Let everybody know that you're the head baseball coach. You're the head volleyball coach. Be empathetic and understanding your athletes. Athletes have feelings. And yes, we want to say athletics or coming to the gym or coming to the field should be an escape from life. But life does go on outside of our athletes. Sometimes people can't block it out. Everybody acts a little bit different. So if somebody's having a bad day, have a one-on-one conversation with them. All right? If you know they're underperforming, have a one-on-one conversation and find out what the root cause of that might be. It might be a problem at home. It might be a death of a family member or a loved one. So be empathetic and understanding, but you have to communicate when you think things are going wrong to find out what that is. And then you can work through that problem and help them because you are a mentor. Next, always be honest and show integrity. If there's rules out there, Everybody goes up to the gray line of the rule, but don't cross the line. Don't break rules just to try to win or to get a positive outcome. Be honest with your athletes and yourself. I've not been afraid to say, hey, I made a mistake. I wish I would have done this in the game. That's my fault. All right. Even in practice sessions, there were things that I messed up. And at the times where I had athletes do push-ups for messing up or run a lap, I went and did it. So learn how to hold yourself accountable. All right. But be honest and show integrity as well. Another thing, this is really key to being any type of educator or coach. Learn to use failures as teachable moments. It's not just a failure or a loss. It's an opportunity to reflect and to teach, to learn what you should do next time, and to move on to be better in the future. So if you think there's a lot of different quotes out there, but I think, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Alex Rodriguez, different people had said, I never lose, I only have an opportunity to learn. So there's all kinds of quotes that are around that whole idea. All right. Next here, use various leadership styles. Sometimes if you're coming in, you had a bad game, or you're starting a new era going into conference play, or you're trying to become a new coach, you might use the transformational leadership style, where you're transforming a program, you have goals to transform people's lives to be better, and transform means to change. So think of the old Transformer. They changed from a car to a robot. So this is a change leadership style. Another leadership style that is common is the situational leadership style. There were times as a leader that you have to be on top of things and you have to be in the command style. And then there are times that you need to be a participative leader and you need to let your team take some control. So think about the situational style, where every situation demands a different kind of leader, and learn how to move in between leadership styles to provide some opportunities for growth within your team. And then the last style that I think is very critical is servant leadership, where you lead your organization or your team, where your idea is that you're serving them, you're trying to help them be the best they can be. All right, I taught this by my captains serve the team. All right, and then I serve the captains. So instead of freshmen getting the equipment out, the captains got the equipment out. All right, so there are a lot of different leadership styles. You should probably Google leadership styles, look at different leadership styles, and learn to develop as a leader. Use these different styles at different times, and don't be afraid to be a situational leader. Different things different times call for different styles. Here, develop all participants, not the stars. So I talked about that on the last slide. Find an opportunity to put people where they have a chance to be successful. Don't just focus everything on your star player. Always talk to everybody in practice. Work with everybody in your practice scenario. Discuss goals with all of your participants, because sooner or later something's going to happen and the star might not be there. I don't want to go into all those circumstances, but say the star's sick and can't be at the game. Did you prepare everybody else to try to take up the slack of that one star player? You have a flu outbreak at your team and you have 4 or 5 people that aren't able to participate. How is everybody else going to be? So you want to make sure that you have practice opportunities where you have everybody work in different positions. I like the idea that Bruce Weber talked about. He's currently the head basketball coach at Kansas State University. When he was at the University of Illinois and at SIU Carbondale, as well as now at Kansas State, he never put his 2 best players on the same team in practice until the day before a game. He had them going against each other, and he basically balanced his teams out so both teams could learn. Basically every team, the players on the team had an opportunity to learn how to produce at a higher level. And then when he got into the game, he had a lot of depth built in. So think about some of those things. If you develop everybody, your team is stronger. If you ignore some of your players that aren't your stars, they're not going to develop. It's not really a great way to go about it educationally. And you're going to lose their interest, and you might not have a bench as the team goes on. That leads into caring about everybody in the program, whether it's your bench or your team manager or somebody that just helps you out and your statistician. Make sure you care about everybody, make them feel valued, and give them a role. One thing you can always do, if there's players that you're going to cut, if they're really passionate about the activity, you can bring them in, tell them they're not going to make the team, but you'd like to keep them on as a manager. They can help you with drills and videotape. Because some of the kids are in your school, they're just looking for something to be a part of. So this might be how you care about the program and find a way for some other participants to be involved. And then the last thing here on this slide, try to find a way to have a work-life balance. It's really hard. Too many people have a life balance and ignore work, and a lot of people work too hard and ignore life. Make sure you consider your own personal health, your family and your loved ones, and make sure in the season you don't just ignore everything else. You need to have some kind of routine to de-stress, or it's going to build up and you will get to burnout. So try to find a way to have a work-life balance, to take care of yourself, both mentally, physically, and healthy, and then take care of your loved ones as well. So I'm going to change the focus here a little bit to why are athletics important in an educational setting? There are a lot of different things. One could be physical benefits. The other one could be cognitive or emotional benefits. All right. Improved academic achievement. People that participate in athletics are usually higher academic performers. They're an opportunity to have positive adult relationships or role models with their coach. Ability to learn how to work cooperatively with other teammates, especially in team sports. It strengthens an individual's attachment to school. They're more likely to come to school and have some pride in their school and their school climate if they're a part of a team. It gives them an opportunity to learn some personal discipline. And then it's an opportunity to develop various positive character traits. So I think we could really go in. I could do a whole lesson on why athletics are important in the educational setting. So I did some research. A dissertation is about a 100+ page paper on a major research project that you write when you're working on your doctorate. In my dissertation, I wrote a paper on determining the correlation or relationship between a student's participation in athletics and their success in school. So I was trying to advocate for more spending, more money, more participation slots for extracurricular sports in our school program, because budgets were starting to get cut all over and we were losing a lot of our funding. So I really thought mentally before I did this, people that are involved really, they have a better chance for student success. They have a better connection to school, sort of like the last slide we went over. So what I did at the school I was at, my research site, I took every student in the school and I coded them how many seasons of sports they participated in. And that's this row right here, seasons of participation. All right. If they did not participate at all, they were coded a 0. If they played a sport in one season, they were a 1. Now, if they played 2 sports in one season, because we did have some soccer players on the football team, they still received a 1. If they played across 2 different seasons, say the fall and the winter, they were coded as a 2. And if they participated in all 3 seasons, they were coded as a 3. Our cheerleading and dance team was listed in this as well, and they were coded as a 2 because they performed and participated and regularly practiced over 2 sports seasons. So I took a spreadsheet, I coded every student 0 through 3. My variables for success, how do I determine if people that participated were successful? I looked at 3 things. First of all, I looked at academic achievement, and most of the research shows that a GPA, a grade point average, is more indicative of your achievement than just a standardized test score such as an ACT or SAT. So I looked at every student's cumulative GPA, not for the year, but what their overall GPA was. And this is what I found related to GPA. Students that weren't involved at all are 0 participants. Their average GPA was 1.85 on a 4.0 scale. All right. If students just participated in one season, the average GPA was 2.51. So close to a full letter grade change by just participating in one season. Students that participated in 2 seasons had the average GPA of 2.88, which is almost a B average, closing into a B average. And students that participated in 3 seasons had over a 3.0 GPA average at 3.14. So if you think about that, the trend is if I don't participate, I have the lowest grade point average, and as I participate more, I strengthen my attachment to school and my ability to have adult role models as well as some accountability. There's no real dumb jock theory here. The more you participate, our study showed that the better your grades were. Another important thing, probably due to the social learning theory, that you can't learn if you're not in attendance or you don't have that attachment. At school, attendance rate is a big thing, and it's also very important to state funding schools receive. So I was looking at this really to advocate for funding for our athletic programs. So we looked at attendance percentage, and at a school, in Missouri, they're graded on if 90% of their students show up 90% of the time, then they get their full funding. So students that didn't participate at all, our average attendance rate was 87.58%. So we were under the 90-90 rate to receive funding on that subgroup of students. As students participated in one sport, their attendance went up to at least 93%. All right, that means they were there 93% of the day school was in session. And for anybody that participated in at least one sport, that was going to strengthen our numbers for our accreditation due to attendance. If you participated in 2 seasons, it was 95.6%. If you participated in 3 seasons, it's 97% attendance rate. Part of that goes back to the fact of if you're participating on a team, you don't want to let the team down. If you're not there in school, you can't practice. If you can't practice, you can't play. So it seems kind of natural. If people are involved in extracurricular activities, they're going to come to school. So that's a pretty good result. The last thing we kind of wanted to look backwards here is discipline is a big thing in public schools. Are people doing what they're supposed to do, meeting expectations, at least behavior-wise? So I looked at discipline referrals for our students at the research site. And part of the deal was, this was any time a kid was sent to the office and got suspended for at least 1 day. This could be in school or out of school. So every time they were suspended, it counted as an offense. All right, so that's not the total number of days suspended, it's the times that they were suspended. So that could be they received a half a day in-school suspension. All right, or it could be one could also be a 10-day suspension. So it's not total numbers of days, it's incidents that required a suspension. Students that weren't involved at all had a discipline referral of 5.51. That means they were suspended on an average of 5 office visits. One season participant was 3.48. 2 season participants was 3.21, and 3 season participants was 2.55. At our school, our discipline code had half-day in-school suspensions were pretty popular discipline topic. So if you look, though, this is the exact opposite of the more you participated, the less your discipline referrals were. So that was another positive outcome. So in my research project, it looks like as students' participation increases, grade point average increase, attendance in school increase, and discipline referrals go down. So that's why I think that it's important to have athletics in a school setting. And you should use information like this to advocate for your own program as you coach. So let's move on to talking about building team culture. You have to always remember, I have 13 points on this slide. The program is more important than the team, and the team is more important than the player. So always try to think about that when you're making decisions and building your philosophy. Think of the program in the long term when you're making a decision whether you should suspend a player for vandalizing school property. Number 2, players and coaches need to talk to each other, have a conversation, not at each other. There's a big difference there. Number 3, remember that no one is perfect. Mistakes will happen on and off the court or field. All you need to do is learn from the mistakes, right? Yes, you want to have a opportunity to reflect. If there needs to be a consequence, there needs to be an immediate, swift, and a consequence that's aligned with the action. But learn from that mistake. You're going to make a mistake as a coach. All you can do is reflect and learn on it. So will your participants. Number 4, every player and every coach is important to the team and plays a role. Respect everybody's role. Whether that role is as a statistician, that role is the first player at the end of the bench, or the star that's in the game. Every player has a role and they're all important to the team. As a coach, you need to build and embrace those roles and celebrate them when you can. Focus on effort and attitude is number 5. Those are the only 2 things we have complete control over. You can't tell if you're going to make every shot that day, or the sun's going to be in somebody's eyes, or the opponent's going to be better than you that day. You can't really control those things. The only 2 things you can control every day, whether it's practice or game day, is effort and attitude. So focus on building those through your team culture. Number 6, either you accept things or you correct them. There's really not anything in between. So if you expect things, you accept. So if you accept it, it's going to happen. So if you let things slide in practice, you let people do it the wrong way, not hustle here or there, it's going to happen unless you correct it. So you need to immediately correct those things to try to teach those. Number 7, repetition in practice is not a punishment. All right, repetition doing punishment is punishment, but repetition in practice is not a punishment. Remember to explain that repetition is necessary for skill and motor development, and you should really have a talk about muscle memory with your team, so people understand that you have to do so many perfect repetitions per day to actually learn a skill. Number 8, remember to confront the issues, not people. This means I should say, hey, we all need to learn to be on time. Time is important, instead of, hey, Jimmy, why are you late? So try to confront the issues with the team, not really talk to people. If you need to talk to specific people, that's where you can have a one-on-one conversation, and then you can confront the whole issue with the team, not specific people. Number 9, goals should match your behaviors and habits. That's another thing where you either accept it or correct it. Set legitimate, short-term, long-term, achievable yet challenging goals, and then develop practice sessions and behaviors that help you get to those goals. Make sure they match. Number 10, be on time as a coach, and make sure everybody else learns to be on time. It's a sign of respect. Remember, almost all games are played with a clock. The game's going to start at a certain time. When the clock goes off, the game's over. So we need to teach the essence and understanding of time. Number 11, discipline, although it may not seem like it, equals love. If I don't discipline you and teach you right from wrong, then I don't love you. I'm not really helping you move on. So when you're setting down some consistent and appropriate discipline, you're showing that participant that you care about them. Number 12, if you aren't prepared to put the team first, don't be on the team, don't show up to practice, and don't play. The team is always more important than the player, and it takes a long time to build that team culture. You're going to have somebody on your team that's selfish, and you need to do everything you can to make sure the program is more important than the individual. And number 13, you got to believe or you got to leave. If you have a couple people pulling away from your team culture, beating up your philosophy, being a locker room lawyer, or being always negative, Nancy, you got to get them away from the team, or have a one-on-one conversation to get them to change. So when you're building team culture, everybody needs to believe or they need to go somewhere else. All right, next we have 12 keys to building a successful team. All right, winning is all about commitment, and every player and every coach must be committed to be able to have a successful team. So here are the 12 important keys. Number 1, academic work's important. Try to aim for success in everything you do, not just the stuff you want to do. All right, so some assignments, you don't necessarily want to do them, but you're training yourself to do things that are hard and to be successful, and you're probably going to learn from them. So do the best you can, even in things you don't want to do. Number 2, behavior. Always carry yourself in a first-class manner. Be respectful. Communicate with everybody. I always try to explain to my players that we are on a business trip when we go to an away game, and we are going to be professional in everything we do. If we're respectful, we're professional. We say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, and please and thank you. It's going to look well on our program and our community as well as ourselves. And by doing that, we're training ourselves to have those traits in a professional setting. Number 3, character. Do the right thing all the time, not just when people are watching you. You've probably heard that as a definition of character before. Always do the right thing. It's a habit. Number 4, the program. No player is bigger than the team, and no team is bigger than the entire program. All right? Try to always think globally and see big picture when you're making decisions. Think of the long term, and think of the people above you that have to deal with your decisions as well. Number 5, working hard. There is never an excuse to let somebody outwork you. Never. I live by that motto as a player, as a coach, and as a leader. I always tried to work as hard as possible, and I always wanted to be over-prepared, because when you're over-prepared, you don't have to get frustrated. You always have a contingency plan or a backup plan in your head, and you just move on. Number 6, work smart. Try to learn how to work efficiently. Work with a purpose. Try to keep things in order and do the things that are the most important or that have a time constraint first. And then make sure you're doing things that have a positive outcome. There's no reason to do things just to do things. All right? Learn how to play the right way. And if you're going to put in the time, put in the effort. Number 7, try to be consistent. Anyone can be good for a day. Anybody can work hard or smart, but you need to do it every day. All right? If you look at sports, that's one of the things. Is this player consistent? Do they hit the ball every day? Do they give me effort every day? Do they field the ball every day? All right? Do they play defense every day? All right? So people that are consistent, that's what coaches are looking for, as well as employers in the future. Number 8, unselfishness. You as a leader need to learn to be a servant leader, and participants need to learn how to serve their team when they put everybody else's needs first. If everybody puts everybody else's needs first, you're going to reduce the selfishness of the team, and you're probably going to raise the level of performance, because everybody's working together more because they're afraid to let other people down instead of letting themselves down. Number 9, have a winning attitude. Try to earn confidence through effort and demonstrated performance with your team, and allow your team to do that too. Have them do some projects early in the year where they do community service before they ever play a game, and they're going to earn some confidence because the community will get behind them. They'll complete a project. Don't make everything too difficult to earn early in the year. Number 10, the team. Commit to your team's philosophy and system of play. As a coach, you need to design your system of play around your participants and your players' abilities, and then make the team commit to that. And if we're going to play a certain way, let's play that way. But as a coach, you also need to think, hey, is this the way we need to go? You should be the one making the decisions, but don't just switch too quick. It might take time to build that philosophy. But you need to have your participants commit to that system. Number 11, your role. Know your role, embrace it, take pride in it, and fulfill it to the best of your ability. You need to have conversations with your assistant coaches so they know the role. You need to have conversations with your participants so they know their role. Everybody needs to know it. You need to have regular conversations and meetings as roles expand or as people don't fit within their role identification. Number 12, think about your teammates and coaches. Remember, this is a family. Everybody is brothers and sisters. All right, I used to use a acronym for family, and it was the F stands for forget, A, about, M, me, I is I, L is love, and Y is you. So for me, family stands for forget about me, I love you. And I had my team say that when we had moments of selfishness or when somebody got let down. And by the end of the day, that really built on, and we built that family atmosphere. So we're going to wrap up this presentation with our activity. So I'm going to explain your activity. Your assignment is building your coaching purpose. So the first part of that assignment is asking yourself these 4 questions. That's part A. Number 1, why do you want to coach? So write several sentences. I'd really like a well-written, thoughtful paragraph. Why do you want to become a coach? Number 2 in part A is why will you coach the way you do? So there has to be some kind of background. Usually you're going to look at somebody that you have coached, that coached you, or that you've coached with as an assistant, that you see either the things they do that you really like, or you had a negative experience, so you'll do things the opposite. So why will you coach the way you do? So give me a paragraph explaining why you're going to coach the way you think you're going to. All right. Number 3, how will you define success as a coach? Are you going to define success in winning and losing, or improvement, or meeting program philosophies? So write me a paragraph of how you're going to define success in the role of a coach. And then question number 4 in part A, I'd like a paragraph for this one. How would you hope your athletes would describe how it feels to be coached by you? So if you're already in a coaching or leadership role, how do you think your participants feel about you? And then if you're not, how would you hope they would feel about you as their leader or mentor or coach? So give me a paragraph about each of these. These are real good interview type questions. I asked these in my coaching interviews right from the beginning, so I could really see to what a person's whole philosophy and purpose was. So write me a paragraph, well written, thoughtful, personal paragraph, don't copy it from somewhere, about each of those 4 points. So under A, you'll have 1 through 4 in the assignment. All right. The next thing is you're going to look at this box, and if you download the document, developing your coaching philosophy, your developing character and coaching philosophy, this is on that document. If not, you're going to have a hard time doing this assignment. So the next part under B is you're going to look at this grid of core values, and you're going to pick out 3 things that you think are very important to you. Is it love? Is it relationships? Is it being a role model? Is it loyalty? So look through the whole thing, take some time, and the 3 words that stand out the most to you, circle those on your sheet if you print it out, or write those down. So those are your core values. The next thing, think of you as a coach, and you can use some other verbs if you want, but here's a list that you should also choose 3 action verbs. What are you going to do as a coach? Are you going to develop people? Are you going to educate them? Are you going to empower them? Are you going to love them? Are you going to prepare them for things? Are you going to teach? All right? Are you going to coach? So pick 3 action verbs, and if you can't find 3 on this list, pick another verb that is an action that you think you'll do as a coach or teacher. Are you going to produce or encourage? All right? So you can circle 3 on your worksheet if you printed it out, or you can write those down. So here's our part B of our assignment, which is writing your individual coaching purpose. You're going to take your 3 core values from the first grid. You're going to take your 3 action verbs from the second grid, and you're going to craft some kind of sentence using these 6 words. It could be a run-on sentence. You could have a comma in that, here or there. So, but think about it. Put it together, reread it, come back to it a half hour later, recraft it, make it sound pretty good. This is, if I were to ask you what would be your purpose of coaching, by the end of this activity, you should be able to develop that purpose and say it. You're going to post this coaching purpose statement as part B of your purpose assignment on Canvas, and I'll go over the full assignment here in a minute. Let me give you a couple examples of some purpose statements. I did this with my coaching staff, and as an athletic director, this was my purpose of being an athletic director. I lead by serving the staff and students in an effort to develop meaningful and caring relationships that inspire growth through providing an education-based athletic program focused on a mentoring and coaching philosophy. Right? The girls basketball coach at the school I did this at the time was Amy, and her purpose statement was, I coach to model and teach the values of working hard, being resilient, and trusting commitment through athletics and teachable moments both in and outside of the gym. Annie Cook was the boys and girls swim coach at my school during this activity, and her purpose statement was, I coach to I coach to develop teamwork, inspire growth, and encourage integrity among and between my athletes, not only in the pool, but as they mature in school in the future. So there's a couple examples. Don't rewrite these examples. Make your purpose statement specific to you. We did this activity, and then I printed out everybody's purpose statement on why we coach, and this was our bulletin board outside the athletic office. And it was pretty cool to see parents and other teachers come by and read, and not one person during their purpose said anything about winning a conference championship, preparing people to go to get a college scholarship. All the purpose was really deeper values of what were important. So we also did a video board on our athletic page where we had our coaches read these on video. And then when you go down here, there's an example from Bryce Beck of his video. He was the head football coach and assistant track coach at the time at McClure High School. And I gave you a sample of his video. You can look at that link. It's about 25 seconds, and it's on this video links page before you do your purpose activity. So here's your assignment, developing a coaching purpose. Part A is answering those 4 questions that lead you into developing your purpose. Answer each question in 1 to 3 sentences. I'd like really closer to a paragraph, and label them A to D. They're the questions. A, why do you coach? B, why will you coach the way you think you will? C, how will you define success as a coach? And D, how would you hope your athletes would describe the feeling they have from being coached by you? All right, part B of this assignment is 1, take your 3 core values off of the worksheet or that you wrote down from this presentation, add in your 3 action verbs, and craft together a sentence using these 6 words. You can look at the examples of Amy, Annie, myself, or the video that I have posted from Bryce. That will be your purpose statement. You should continue to craft that purpose statement as you move along towards your coaching career. You might even use that in an interview to get your first coaching job. You might even post it so you remember in the hard days when you might have lost a game or things didn't go well, what your real purpose behind coaching is. So what you're going to do is, this is the assignment coaching purpose. You're going to post this in Canvas, the answer to those 4 questions for A, and then B, you're going to write down your sentence with 3 core values and 3 action verbs. And you need to post that by Thursday, April 23rd, and the deadline's 8 p.m. So that is your culminating assignment for this chapter, this module. So what I want you to do here is, in Module 14, remember our purpose was to expand your knowledge and understanding of the field of athletic coaching related to developing a coaching purpose. Your to-do list after watching this video is download the coaching unit document links, and it is a document on building character and developing purpose. If you print that out, you can use the second page of it to develop your purpose statement. It has the 2 grids with the different verbs and core values on it. So your assignments, really only 1 major assignment for this module. It is due Thursday, April 23rd. It's developing your purpose statement. Assignment I just went over. Make sure you look ahead to Module 15. Your final assignment is due Tuesday, April 28th. That's what I went over with you. That's the assignment that replaces your observation, and it's going to be different, determined by how far you were in your observation at midterm. And then also look at your culminating assignments. All right, in Module 15, you're going to develop a philosophy of coaching. You could start working on that. Make sure you watch these coaching videos because in the coaching videos, all that information is going to prepare you for the coaching quiz, and then you'll take your course post test. Make sure you meet all the deadlines for those culminating assignments. Module 15 will be our final module. It really takes you through finals week. So good luck with everything you do. And remember, your purpose is going to continue to evolve year from year. You are a leader and a mentor to young people when you serve in the role of a coach. Being a coach is a very important role in today's society, and try to do all the different things we talked about in building character, in preparing your team to be successful, and building team culture. Good luck, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great day.